Hi, today I'm going to talk about a book I've just recently finished. The book is called The Hermit of Peking, The Hidden Life of Sir Edmund Backhouse by Hugh Trevor-Roper. So, this was published in 1976. This book is hard to explain what he's doing here. It's a biography of Edmund Backhouse. So Backhouse was a contemporary of Winston Churchill, and he actually went to the same school as Winston Churchill. So he came from a very good family, and his father was one of the principal what we call executives of Barclays Bank in England. So Backhouse went to Oxford, and when he was there, he got into some financial problems, some debt. He was giving really expensive jewelry to women, and he just accumulated all these debts, and his father had to bail him out. And that marked a time when his father just started to despise him. He had a pretty bad childhood from what we hear. This book is really it does something that no other book does that I've read. It's a biography of Backhouse, but it's also very critical of him. And as the biographer, Hugh Trevor-Roper, discovers more things about his subject, these things are, he finds out about all these lies about his subject. How his subject, Backhouse, is deceiving people. So it's a biography, but it's the author tries to be fair and tries to consider things, but he takes us along in his thinking along the way, a kind of discerning approach towards his subject. And so the next episode with Backhouse is he's in China, and he has these letters from high English officials, introductory letters to people in China. And so Backhouse approaches the Times correspondent in Peking. The Times, of course, is the London newspaper, and he gets a job as a translator. And this correspondent is named Morrison. So he works for Morrison, translating these things from Chinese officials and what's going on in China. Morrison is portrayed as kind of an arrogant man, and he doesn't even know Chinese, and he makes no attempt to learn Chinese, yet he's the Chinese correspondent for the Times in London. So that's a pretty amazing story in itself, but that tells you something about journalism. He has this relationship with Morrison. At the time in China, the Empress Dowager was the leader of China. But then there was the Boxer Rebellion that occurred, where the Boxers threw out the existing leaders, including the Empress Dowager of China. So she was forced to leave for a short time, and then they defeated the Boxers, and she was able to return. During the time when the Empress Dowager was out of power, many of the treasures that she oversaw were moved out of Peking. And then when she returned, these treasures were returned to her. Eventually, a few years later, she was overthrown completely. Backhouse claimed to have intimate knowledge of the Empress Dowager, and they were reporting all this stuff to England, and the English people were very interested in this exotic world of China, and so it was a very hot topic in England. Later, Morrison left Peking and went to London, and a man named J.O.P. Bland replaced him as the Times correspondent. And then Backhouse began to work with J.O.P. Bland. Then J.O.P. Bland went back to England, and Backhouse told Bland that he had this diary of the Empress Dowager, and he wanted to write a book with J.O.P. Bland and publish it in England. So J.O.P. Bland was very excited about this, And he said, you're bringing all the material. Why don't you just write the book and, I'll just edit it. And then, we'll share some of the proceeds. And then Backhouse was like, no. I want you to take credit for the book. And you can even take all the proceeds for the book. I'm just going to, write some of the book. That's how he wanted to structure the partnership. So Bland was kind of like, okay, that's fine with me. Backhouse was kind of known as being kind of an eccentric person. The most important part of the book was this diary, which were the intimate details, what was going on with the Empress Dowager. What happened was they published the book with Bland's name first and then Backhouse. And so Bland said to Backhouse, you wrote most of the book. I'm going to split the proceeds for the book with you. So he did. The book turned out to be a success. Then Backhouse said that he approached the Bodleian Library at Oxford University, and he said that he had all these Chinese manuscripts and Chinese collectibles that he wanted to donate to the library. So he said, I'll donate them to you as long as you pay for the shipping from Peking to London. So they agreed. So he sent all these crates of stuff. And some of the people in London examined the Empress Dowager's diary, and some of them thought it was kind of fake. And then the guy Morrison, who had worked with Backhouse, he said the diary was fake. So there was a question about the diary. Bland always thought it was a true diary. But anyway, the thing is, that was kind of the first signal about the suspicious behavior of Backhouse. So there's other things that follow. One episode is where England was fighting in World War I. They didn't have many weapons, and Backhouse told them that he could get them rifles and he could ship them to England. So they said, there was all this correspondence, and he agreed to do it, and Backhouse agreed to do it, and he said that he was shipping these rifles, and after months and months and months, which Trevor-Roper goes through, the rifles never appeared, they never came out in London. But somehow the whole thing was dropped. And then Backhouse took on this, he was approached by this man from a shipping company in London, and he assured this man that he could arrange a deal where the Chinese government would buy military ships, gigantic ships, for Chinese government. And so he was all this negotiation, and nothing ever happened with that. And so then he, one after another, these episodes kept happening with Backhouse, where it just turned out that it looked like he was a fraudulent person and making up stories. Roper goes through all these, and it's very, very interesting, and it's very entertaining. Because as Roper's discovering it, he's describing these things to us. This is the way it appears it's happening. But then he follows up, and it's like everything, all of these things that Backhouse was dealing with were just like lies. He's just making stuff up. There was another diary from a eunuch in Empress Dowager's circle, and that was made up. It's just a very entertaining story. It's a fun book to read, and I recommend it. Thanks for watching.